And a very good Tuesday night to everybody. This is the Tuesday night edition of the RCWR Show, coming at you live right now on September 11th, 2012, 1 minute past the 11 o'clock hour. Thank those of you that is checking us out right now live on Blog Talk Radio and over at our sister website at InfinityOneProductions.com. Thank those of you that's going to be checking this out on the downloads. I'm, of course, as always, the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders. I thank those of you so much for tuning into tonight's episode. Little bit of a somber episode, if you will, because we had got some unfortunate news about WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler this past Monday night. For those of you that did not hear about what all had happened, rest assured we'll definitely get those of you caught up. We'll give you all the very latest on what we were able to find out about Jerry the King Lawler. It is pay-per-view week. We have another pay-per-view that's going to be coming our way from WWE as live this Sunday. It'll be the Night of Champions pay-per-view where every single WWE championship will be put on the line. Definitely that favorite time of year whenever that pay-per-view rolls around, and it's going to be in front of a white-hot Boston, Massachusetts crowd. You know, it's definitely going to be a phenomenal night when that goes on. Those of you that's checking out this episode right now, feel free to kick on back. We got the chat room that's open right now. You can interact with us as well as other people that are in the chat room right now throughout the course of the show being on the air. You can also feel free to interact with us on Twitter at Infinity1Prod, and we're also up on Facebook at Infinity1 Productions. So a couple of sites for you to go check out right there. You know, before we jump into everything that we're going to be covering tonight, I definitely wanted to just, on a really light note, happier note that is, I just really wanted to take this time out and thank those of you, the listeners, for checking out our TNA No Surrender coverage from this past weekend, as you quickly made our Call That Match special where I offered my match predictions for the No Surrender pay-per-view and our post-show for Sunday night's pay-per-view. You quickly made both of those be our most downloaded and listened to episodes. We had a nice ton of great fan interaction on that post-show, definitely with some really solid stuff. Thank those of you that had checked out that episode, whether you called in or you were in the chat room or you checked it out on the downloads, YouTube. Definitely mad shout out to those of you that were part of that show. Definitely appreciate it. We picked up some new subscribers, too, on YouTube as well as Stitcher. Mad shout out to those of you that had recently joined us. Hopefully you appreciate all the good content that we put out there. And, yeah, we got another pay-per-view that's going to be coming our way this Sunday from the WWE. Should definitely be a fantastic pay-per-view, no doubt. Of course, when we get ready to open up the phone lines in the later part of the show, you are more than welcome to do so, especially if you have very fond Jerry Lawler moments, as we want to try to just really have this just be the focal point of tonight's episode. We know that there's been a little bit of stuff that's been happening in wrestling-related news, not really too much, as the main story that's been happening is what all's been going on with Jerry Lawler. So we're actually going to switch our show format up just a little bit. For those of you that normally listen to our show, and you know that we usually just cover the Raw results off the break, and then we talk about what happened, wrestling-related news. Well, we're not going to do it like that tonight, just tonight only. We're going to switch it up a little bit, and we're going to talk about what all has been briefly happening wrestling-related news-wise, and then we'll go on ahead and we'll jump into the latest Raw results, tie it into what all had took place with Jerry Lawler. That's how we'll set it up tonight. So let's talk about some brief wrestling news real quick, all right? So one of the things that had jumped out at me off the break was that WWE quietly now had released the Rock versus Cena Once in a Lifetime DVD. Now, You're saying, hi, it came out quietly? Well, if you were watching Raw this past Monday night and the week before that, you know that there has been no type of advertising whatsoever for this Rock versus Cena DVD that dropped earlier today. So it was one of those things that actually, if you weren't really paying attention to news headlines or DVD-related news, you definitely had missed one right there as it had came out. And we actually did take a look at the DVD, took a look at some of the contents that were on this. It's a 3-disc set that you'll be able to check out. Looks pretty freaking nice for those of you that might have came on board a little bit late for that Rock versus Cena rivalry. This is definitely one to add to the collection, as here's what you get in the main 3-disc set. Disc 1, we're just going to go down the list here. Disc 1, main feature, after 7 long years, a year in the making, the People's Champ, new face of the WWE, social media warfare, locker room noise, loyalty and respect, let's go Cena, Cena sucks, once in a lifetime, special features, first class, Tiger Pride, world's most famous arena, a funny person, comedy translates, flat on my face, singing, Tonight Show, Merry Christmas, getting dad involved, giving back, unpredictable, tickets, Clash, secret recipe. Disc 2, they highlight several key segments here. One of them is The Rock returning to Raw back February 2011. John Cena responding to The Rock the very next week on Raw. And then March 14th, we see The Rock confront John Cena at his home. Looks like the week after that, week and a half later, John Cena adjusts The Rock's attitude. April 3rd, WrestleMania 27, The Rock welcomes the WWE Universe. Of course, that WWE Championship match where The Miz had took on John Cena at WrestleMania 27. The very next night, we saw Rock versus Cena on an episode of Raw. November 2011, we pick it up where John Cena, This Is Your Life, followed by Boots to Asses. Then Never Before, Never Again, The Rock and John Cena teaming up to take on the team of The Miz and R-Truth. Disc 3, we see John Cena calls out Dwayne Johnson. The Rock and John Cena face-to-face. Here's my favorite parts right here, folks. The Rock's history lesson number 1. John Cena returns home. Rock history lesson number 2. The Rock's history lesson number 3. The Rock and John Cena live in Boston. All of those that I just named is all off of the same Raw episode. The return of Thugonomics. Raw, March 12, 2012. Raw concert. The final confrontation. WrestleMania 28 press conference, once in a lifetime, The Rock versus John Cena at WrestleMania 28, and you definitely get a ton of Blu-ray features, which includes once in a lifetime, the film cut. So definitely some pretty little nifty spots in there for you to check out on that Blu-ray edition. Definitely highly recommend that you pick it up. You can get that Blu-ray copy right now for about $24 and some change on Amazon.com. Definitely recommend you either get it there, you pick it up at Target, Walmart, Kmart. Definitely do your best to stay away from FYE. You know those guys, they charge a freaking arm and a leg. It's ridiculous. I don't know if I told you guys this story before. True story, I had bought a Robert Plant in concert DVD that had came out several weeks back, and I had bought it from FYE, and this was just a standard copy, and these guys wanted like $24 for it, and I sat up and said, oh, man, well, I got to have it. It's probably going to be really hard to find this. Next thing I know, one of my coworkers, they sat up and said, why don't you try to see if maybe you might be able to find that at Best Buy. So I actually did go to Best Buy, and turns out they had the copy for $19.99. So I took that $24 copy right back to FYE, and I said, give me back my money. And that was pretty much the end of that. So, yeah, I can't stress it enough. don't go to FYE. The only time I recommend going to FYE is if you are in a bind, you just have to have it, or imports. They're really good when it comes to imported CDs, DVDs. Other than that, I say you stay away from them. All right, folks? Other wrestling-related news that's been going on. We see that Matt Hardy is getting ready to do some type of work again for Ring of Honor Wrestling. That's right, folks. Now, I want you guys to keep this in mind, which is Matt Hardy hasn't done anything with Ring of Honor Wrestling for a good amount of years. If I'm not mistaken, he hasn't done anything for them since 2005. I believe it is, with their last pay-per-view that had came out. Well, this time around, Matt Hardy, he's been very pleased with what all he's been seeing from the organization as of late, and he decided that he definitely wanted to do some type of business with them again. And so Matt Hardy, folks, is going to be working with Ring of Honor Wrestling coming up on their next pay-per-view. I can't think of the name of the pay-per-view right now. It'll come to me in just a second. Just give me a few seconds to think about it. In the meantime, I definitely thought that this was kind of cool seeing Matt Hardy get involved with Ring of Honor Wrestling. Hey, who knows? Maybe if this becomes something really cool, maybe it could be a type of deal where Matt Hardy could permanently be part of Ring of Honor Wrestling. I know some people probably don't really like that idea. They probably would like for him to head on home and go back to the WWE, but I don't know. I don't quite see that happening for quite some time. And the pay-per-view that Matt Hardy is going to be popping up for is going to be the September 15th Death Before Dishonor State of Emergency pay-per-view coming from Chicago, Illinois. So that should be a pretty badass pay-per-view right there. Of course, we'll definitely be covering that pay-per-view because I'm very curious to hear how Matt Hardy did in that one. And one thing we have to keep in mind here is that, yes, Matt Hardy, when last we did see him in Ring of Honor, it was there at Punk, the Final Chapter, in August 2005, where he had took on Roderick Strong, and he got defeated by him in the center of the ring, and he was told, Ring of Honor officials, that since then he was quite excited to do work with Ring of Honor again, work with the fans, all that. So really nice that Matt Hardy is going to be working with them again. Some pretty cool stuff right there. And that's pretty much been it wrestling news-wise. I mean, that's really, we've been paying attention to everything that's been happening all day, trying to confirm a whole bunch of news, everything that we've been getting, a lot of bad rumors that were just put out there, and we just mostly been sitting up trying to just squash all of that. But that's pretty much the few WWE wrestling headlines that had jumped out there. Now, for those of you that had missed Monday night's WWE Raw, you are not alone. Let me tell you that right now. Now, normally, for those of you that interact with us on Twitter every Monday night, usually myself, definitely Zed, one of us is always interacting with you all at our Twitter page at Infinity One Prod. Well, Zed was the one that was supposed to be interacting with you all tonight. I actually was just MIA for a little bit, taking care of some personal stuff, and Zed was having some computer problems, so he unfortunately was not able to tweet you guys what all was happening on Raw. And eventually Zed had an emergency, so there was only but a few minutes of Raw that he had saw. So when we both had regrouped earlier today, this morning rather, and we're trying to find out what all we had missed on Raw, we really weren't sure what to expect when we were looking at the results. And here was a rare case where I sat up, and I'm actually looking for the whole episode to watch to see what all I had missed, so I could definitely let you guys know what all you might have missed if you didn't check out the episode. And never in my wildest dreams did I think I was going to be going on the air and it was going to kind of be a somber tone tonight. As you know, I'm trying my best to do this show here, but I am just a million miles away right now, as I can't help but think about the current state of Jerry the King Lawler, who unfortunately had suffered a heart attack live on that episode of Raw. You can't make this stuff up. We had Michael Cole. Very rare do you see Michael Cole break character, but this was clearly a case where Michael Cole, he was just being truly sincere about what all was happening. And for those of you that did not catch it, we'll definitely get you guys caught up. Really, I don't even want to go into Raw in great detail like that. I'm not even sure how long I'm going to do tonight's show because, I kind of felt like somebody just punched me really hard in the stomach. So as was just really weird about this is that I'm watching this and I'm seeing all these events take place with Jerry Lawler. I was into the episode, but then it just seemed like once all this had went down with the King, it just really kind of came off to me that, okay, the show really doesn't matter. All that matters right now is what exactly is going on with Jerry the King Lawler. Nothing else mattered. I don't want you guys feeling like you're going to be walking away empty-handed here. So we're going to go on ahead and we're just going to give you guys a quick rundown on what all had happened, and then we're just going to dedicate a good chunk of time talking about Jerry the King Lawler here. So give you a quick rundown here of what all had went down, and no disrespect to Raw, minus what had went down with Jerry Lawler. Monday was actually a very solid episode, I must say. I was very pleased with a lot of the things that I had saw. As one of the main things I took away from that episode of Raw was seeing the continued development of the WWE Champion CM Punk, who was just really working very well with WWE Hall of Famer Bret the Hitman Hart. They had a really nice exchange of words as CM Punk disrespecting Bret Hart, I might add, in front of his own hometown crowd in Montreal. Oh, my God, this was definitely a classic moment right here as CM Punk, he comes down there and he is just letting Bret Hart have it, letting him know how he's held the WWE Championship for 300 days now and counting, and that it's longer than any of Bret Hart's title reigns in the WWE. And he was also talking about how he was going to go on to defeat John Cena at the Night of Champions pay-per-view. And from there, we see Bret Hart, he sits up and he brings up the despicable things that CM Punk did last week when he had attacked John Cena, got involved in that match that Cena was having, attacked Jerry Lawler from behind in the backstage segment. CM Punk, the only thing he could just keep talking about is how he feels he's been disrespected by those guys, how he feels he's been disrespected by Bret the Hitman Hart. And it was just one of those type of chemistries. It was just really nice seeing CM Punk, Bret Hart. I really didn't think this combination was exactly going to work out too well here, but CM Punk, he did a damn good job as he sat up and said, look, by the time I get done beating up John Cena, he's going to be beaten down and broken, haggard, just like you, Hitman. It was one of those kind of ouch type of moments right there. And really nice play of words as CM Punk sat up and told Bret Hart, let me tell you what would have happened if it would have been me wrestling you instead of Shawn Michaels. And basically CM Punk was saying that he wouldn't have gotten screwed, that he definitely would have done what he needed to do and leave WWE, jump ship to WCW, and wish the demise of WWE. Bret Hart, he definitely took offense to those hot words as he sat up and said, well, you know what, quite honestly, I'm the best there is, best there was, best there ever will be. and I definitely would have beaten you up. I'd have made you tap out, was Bret Hart's argument. Funny right here, as we see Bret Hart talking with the WWE champion, you can't help but notice that CM Punk has on Bret Hart's colors. I mean, how badass is that? You're sitting up, you're bashing the hell out of this guy, but you're wearing his colors. I just thought that was a pretty awesome moment right there. Matches that we saw on Raw, we saw Kofi Kingston, R-Truth, they teamed up, and they had defeated Miz and Antonio Cesaro. As from there, we're informed that there's been no official word yet as far as who Kofi Kingston and R-Truth are going to be taking on at the Night of Champions pay-per-view, but it's expected that they are going to be feuding against the primetime players, Titus O'Neil and Darren Young. Supposedly, now, hopefully we'll get that official word, which we did, as it came a little bit later in the show, as it would actually be revealed to be none other than, get this, folks, Kofi Kingston and R-Truth are going to be taking on the team of Kane and Daniel Bryan for the WWE Tag Team Championships at Night of Champions. That's right. Now, here's how that would end up playing out. We would see the primetime players in a backstage segment talking with AJ Lee, very excited at the fact that come Sunday they're possibly going to become the new tag team champions. Well, AJ Lee would give them a reality check and mention to them that they are not the number one contenders to face the tag team champions, which prompted the primetime players to tell AJ, but wait a minute, we want a tag team little battle royal contest this past Friday night on SmackDown to become the number one contenders. What are you talking about? We've beaten every team that's been put at us. Well, AJ would point out that, no, you haven't beaten this team, so you can't claim that you've beaten all of them just yet. You got to beat this team first, then maybe you'll be the new number one contenders. And, again, that team was Kane and Daniel Bryan. And this pairing would actually be the result of, one, Dr. Shelley, who felt that the two had made such significant progress in recent weeks, but that it kind of seemed like things were falling apart last week, and they were just on the verge of a breakthrough. So Dr. Shelley came up with this whole idea of them being a tag team and try to really prove once and for all that these two can definitely coexist, or, as he said it best, go down in a blaze of oblivion. So we saw Kane, Daniel Bryan, they worked pretty well together as a tag team, but the two of those guys, they definitely like to be the more dominating one in this group, as we had saw Kane at one point give a choke slam to his tag team partner while also setting him up so that he just so conveniently was laying on top of one of the primetime players to pick up the victory. So they became the new number one contenders. They're going to be taking on the primetime players this Sunday, folks. Second match of the card, we had saw Eve teaming up with Layla and Caitlyn to defeat Beth Phoenix, Alicia Fox, and Natalya, as we are then informed that Layla will, in fact, be putting up that title against Caitlyn. I am just getting so used to that idea of Caitlyn. She just really came out of nowhere. Now, I don't like talking about rumors. I don't like talking about speculations, but I'm hearing this whole Caitlyn winning this Battle Royal contest to take on Layla. I heard it was a botched move. Somehow things got messed up in there. I don't know how that's even possible, but I definitely am looking at this match. I'm definitely not invested into this. From what I've seen of Caitlyn, there's really nothing there. I can't really get behind that. I personally, if I had to see a Divas match, I would have rather preferred seeing Natalya. Hell, Alicia Fox is good. I'd have preferred to see any one of the other Divas except for Caitlyn, quite honestly. She just not enough yet, as far as I'm concerned. Now, we saw the WWE Champion CM Punk have a run-in with AJ, and she would inform him that he's actually going to be having a match tonight and that she could be very mean-spirited and put him in a match against Sheamus, since he did walk out on the World Heavyweight Champion and the fans last week in Chicago, Illinois. But she's going to let the fans decide who CM Punk will be facing, as it's another edition of Raw Active where the fans got to take to Twitter and decide who CM Punk was going to be facing on the episode. The choices were Brodus Clay, Jerry Lawler, Randy Orton, and that winner, which there was a drum roll, would be none other than Randy Orton. That's right, the Viper. Now, this match would actually end in a no contest because Dolph Ziggler would interfere in this match. Just as Randy Orton was looking for the RKO, Ziggler would grab Orton from behind, push him. Now, Orton, he realizes that he's going straight into CM Punk. He just goes with his instincts, throws up a clothesline, sends CM Punk flying out of the ring, focuses his attention on Dolph Ziggler as he quickly takes him out with a snap power slam. Then we see the WWE Champion get back in the ring. He's trying to attack Randy Orton from behind. Orton delivers another snap power slam to that guy real quickly. And Orton is thinking about it. He's thinking about going for that devastating RKO to the WWE Champion, with Dolph Ziggler once again attacks him from behind. We saw CM Punk grabbing at Orton's legs, keeping him grounded, while Dolph Ziggler goes to the top of the body. Basically 2-on-1 that we have here, folks. We saw Jerry Lawler take off his headset. He gets into the ring. He comes to the aid of Randy Orton. The next thing you know, this turns into an impromptu match by the Raw GM, as it's now CM Punk and Dolph Ziggler. CM Punk. Yeah, I said that right. CM Punk and Dolph Ziggler taking on the team of Randy Orton and Jerry Lawler. Funny moment right here, though. And this match was getting really good, too. We actually saw Paul Heyman come down to the ring, and he had a nice, long exchange of words with the WWE Champion, who just was not even thinking about his tag team partner. It was almost like CM Punk was having some type of a business deal transaction, or he was negotiating some type of a proposal that Paul Heyman had for him. I mean, they just really looked deep into conversation as they just slowly and quietly just walked on, as poor Dolph Ziggler was left there to fend for himself. You know how it is when you have that type of a scenario. Exactly. Dolph Ziggler, he got his ass beat by the team of Randy Orton and Jerry the King Lawler. And from there, folks, we see a backstage segment revolving around CM Punk and Paul Heyman, where Matt Striker had asked the two of them, hey, just what exactly is the true nature of your relationship together? And CM Punk would look at Paul Heyman and say to Matt Striker, I'm a Paul Heyman guy. And that would pretty much be the end of that right there, folks. Moving right along now with your Raw results, in case you missed it. We saw Zack Ryder and Heath Slater continue their feud, as remember, they've been going back and forth on Tout and other forms of social media within recent weeks. Zack Ryder, he would let Heath Slater know that, you're not going to be facing me tonight, but you are going to be facing somebody with the first name Rye, as, yes, we would see Heath Slater get just butchered by Ryback, took him out real quickly. Nice little segment right here, and I couldn't help but notice off and on throughout the night, now that I'm thinking about it in hindsight, funny, I thought I was overanalyzing it. I don't know if maybe some of you all noticed it off the break too, but Jerry Lawler at this point, he looked like he was sweating profusely. He coughed at one time. He just kind of seemed a little bit off. Kind of seemed like maybe he was trying to catch his breath a little bit. That's what I was saying to myself. I thought maybe I was reading it a little bit too much when I had saw this initially, but I was like, Jerry, he just had a match or whatever. So I kind of shook it off, but I did notice several times that they showed him before he had his tag match. He looked as if he was sweating pretty bad. He just looked kind of out of it, but a little nice moment right here. We saw him and Michael Cole. They were talking about that new Raw app. I've played around with it. I think it's a really badass app, definitely really cool. If you haven't checked that Raw app out yet, you definitely want to check that out. Of course, one of the other matches that we saw of the night had involved Alberto Del Rio taking out Tyson Kidd. I can appreciate the fact that Alberto Del Rio, he wanted to look a little bit strong going into his Night of Champions match against Sheamus, but I just kind of felt that it should have been done, with somebody else. I mean, hell, Ezekiel Jackson hasn't been doing a daggone thing within recent weeks. I mean, nowadays when it comes to the pay-per-views, poor Ezekiel Jackson, he's at Hooters eating a big old bucket of wings and watching the pay-per-view on TV. So I'd say, why don't we see this guy job to people? I think Big Zeke should have been the one to do this, because it just kind of felt a little wasted, if you will, to see Tyson Kidd somewhat in front of his hometown crowd lose to Alberto Del Rio. I wouldn't have booked that right. Of course, another cool moment, we saw Sheamus take on David Otunga, and this was somewhat the result of everything that had transpired on Friday Night SmackDown last week. And if you haven't checked Friday Night SmackDown from last week, do yourself a favor, go hop on Dailymotion YouTube. Go check it out when you get a chance. See if you might be able to catch it on WWE's website. That was actually a pretty damn solid episode. Of course, one of the main key highlights that came from Friday Night SmackDown that leaked into this past Monday night's Raw was seeing Booker T inform Sheamus that he could no longer do the bro kick, as Booker T had this pending investigation underway for Sheamus, as that bro kick has been coming into very serious question as of late. It kind of reminds you shades of Undertaker when he was doing Hell's Gate, and how Vicky Guerrero had banned him from using that submission hold for a good minute, telling him next time he used it, he was going to lose the World Heavyweight Championship, kind of playing off of what had happened right there with the dead man. And we actually saw Sheamus in a deposition with his lawyer, and they were talking with David Otunga, who was representing Ricardo Rodriguez, as David Otunga was just bringing up the short list of people that have been affected by Sheamus's bro kick so far. Nice names that were in there. Daniel Bryan, of course, Alberto Del Rio was in there a couple of times, Ricardo Rodriguez, Daniel Bryan, who got that bro kick in 17 seconds at this past year's WrestleMania. So definitely one of those moments right there where you're kind of like, yeah, now that you really think about it, that bro kick is pretty damn devastating. And here's what would take us to tonight, as we saw Sheamus defeat David Otunga via submission. That's right. Sheamus, hey, you take away his bro kick, that's okay. He knows how to win another way, and that's exactly what he was doing on this night against David Otunga. But we saw Sheamus not exactly too satisfied with his victory. He would actually come on back down the ring, and he would give a bro kick to Otunga, and as much as I love seeing Otunga's head get popped off, you just knew that there was going to be some serious consequences for this. And we would actually see Raw General Manager AJ come out, and she tried to take control of the situation, letting Sheamus know, hey, you know you're not supposed to use that move. Well, before she could even go any further, Booker T would get his hands involved in this and take control of it, informing Sheamus that he is now on notice that if he even tries to use that bro kick again, anytime, anywhere, and Booker T finds out about it, Booker T will have no choice but to strip Sheamus of that World Heavyweight Championship. Now, when I heard this happen, folks, first thing that is clicking into my head, I'm saying to myself, is this possibly the way you end this massive juggernaut known as Sheamus? Is this how you finally get the belt taken off of him? Because the man has been on such a hot streak really since he had won the Royal Rumble, going all the way into WrestleMania. I mean, he's just been unstoppable. Is this finally how you go on ahead and you try to get that belt off of him, letting it be wide open for somebody to come on in? Another thing that comes into my mind, is this another scenario here where you can have Dolph Ziggler participate in some type of a match to crown a new World Heavyweight Champion without necessarily cashing in that Money in the Bank briefcase? Nice little thinking right there. Definitely gives you a lot to be concerned about. Definitely Night of Champions is going to prove to be a very interesting pay-per-view. Now that Booker T has put this stipulation out there, can Sheamus keep his cool and really dig down deep like he's been doing in recent weeks and continue to pull out the impressive victories, busting out his new arsenal of moves? Who knows? Only time will tell. I know one thing. If I was Alberto Del Rio going into this match Sunday, I'm going to do everything in my power to alienate him to the point where I'm going to have him do that bro kick. Rest assured on that. I saw, according to the lovely co-producer Tammy, that we have a few people that called into the show. I know one of the callers was from the 773 area code, I believe it is. Hey, we usually do not take phone calls until the last 15, 20 minutes of the show, but this is actually going to be a pretty short episode tonight. You're more than welcome to call back in. We just want to brief people that miss Raw, though, get them caught up, and then, we'll definitely go on ahead and open up the phone line. So feel free to call on back in, or you can tweet us your comment or reply to our Twitter page at Infinity1Prod. We also got a chat room that's open right now. That message also goes out to those of you as well. It really doesn't make sense opening up the phone lines. I just don't get that. We have some people, they want to be heard on the air off the break. I'm trying to get that. I mean, most wrestling shows, unfortunately, they usually don't even let there be a phone line. They just say what they got to say, and then that's it. We try to look out for you guys as best as we can, but we also try to look out for those that don't know what the heck is going on, as we got a ton of that today when we have reported what we were able to find out about Jerry the King Lawler, which brings us up to that key point now, folks, as we had saw Cody Rhodes take on, I believe it was Rey Mysterio. And this match, if I'm not mistaken, it had ended in not a no contest. I'm trying to think off the top of my head here, folks. This match, actually, Cody Rhodes had won, but post-match is where it had got a little interesting because The Miz had actually came down to the ring, and he was actually trying to come to the aid of Cody Rhodes during this match, and he was trying to get physical with Rey Mysterio, who was able to counter him, but there was just too many distractions going on, as that's how Cody Rhodes was able to pick up the victory. Well, post-match, we would see The Miz get back into the ring, and he was trying to continue on with where he left off with Rey Mysterio. And just out of nowhere, we saw Cody Rhodes with the Crossroads on The Miz and making a very loud statement as he picked up that Intercontinental Championship and held it high. Could this be the beginning of a refocused Cody Rhodes? Who knows? I definitely was loving what was happening right here with this piece. Now, of course, at this point, Jerry Lawler, he pretty much had been silent for a good chunk of time, and he finally had revealed that his colleague, Jerry the King Lawler, had just passed out right beside him, just out of it, unconscious, and that he was not breathing on his own. People had came down, EMTs, they came, and they, were pumping air into him. They were trying to, see what was going on with him. The man pretty much had a heart attack right then and there on the spot. They put him on a stretcher, and they took him off to the back. And, you could tell by looking at Michael Cole, he was definitely pretty heartbroken about what all was going on. And pretty much, and as awkward as it was seeing this, Michael Cole was just pretty much quiet for the rest of the episode, as the way Raw would end. Michael Cole would end Raw, but not before John Cena was interviewed by Bret the Hitman Hart. And this was definitely a really great moment right here, as CM Punk would also get involved. And you want to talk about another solid promo by John Cena, who pretty much told CM Punk, look, you sat up last year, you were talking about change, you were talking about how it needs to be a new era for WWE, how you're going to be the voice of the voiceless. Here we are now. The show has not become any edgier. There has not been any new talent. There hasn't been any ice cream bars. The only thing you basically were whining and complaining about was basically putting yourself in a position where you could become the WWE champion. And John Cena would also point out how CM Punk said a good while back how Cena had become what he hated the most, which was a franchise, when in fact John Cena actually came up as an underdog and became a well-respectable person in the WWE, unlike CM Punk. And CM Punk, don't get me wrong here, folks, CM Punk, he had some pretty good moments on the mic as well, as he sat up and told Bret Hart and John Cena that he's better than Bret Hart, he's better than Shawn Michaels, he's even better than Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's right. Little knock to Stone Cold Steve Austin, or as CM Punk had called Stone Cold, that hillbilly. That's right. That's how he referred to him, as at one point during this whole exchange of words between all three of these guys, we saw CM Punk say to Bret Hart, oh, yeah, you remember that hillbilly that you weren't able to make tap out, that you put into that sharpshooter at WrestleMania 13? Yeah, I'm even better than Stone Cold Steve Austin. We just really saw this massive ego of CM Punk just oozing out, as he even talked about Shawn Michaels, saying how he is better than the old Shawn Michaels that had the crappy attitude, even better than the new Shawn Michaels, to get born-again Christian Shawn Michaels. And we would just see John Cena. He came right back at him, and he said, you know what, you are having one serious identity crisis. Take a look at you. You're wearing other people's colors. You're insulting wrestlers of the past by stealing their signature moves, such as the late Macho Man Randy Savage. And he's like, you've just been talking this hot game for all these weeks because come this Sunday, your championship is really going to be in jeopardy. You know that I'm going to bring everything I can to the table, and I'm not just going to be coming to Night of Champions to beat you. I'm going to be coming to Night of Champions to beat your ass and become the new WWE champion. Right there, folks, it looks as if these two guys were about to get it on, but that would not be the case, as CM Punk would try to take the coward's move and sucker punch Bret Hart, but Bret Hart was able to catch the fist in time and deliver a strong, solid punch of his own to the head of CM Punk to send him flying out the ring. And that was pretty much the end of that right there that was happening in the ring, as it would quickly go to Michael Cole, who had gave us one last update of Jerry the King Lawler, letting us know that he was starting to become responsive to a series of light tests that they were giving him, that he was finally able to start breathing on his own without the use of a machine, and that he was taken to a local hospital, and that more updates would be coming available for King. And, folks, we've definitely been staying on top of this ever since we had found out what had happened. And here's the very latest on what we were able to find out for Jerry the King Lawler for you guys. So, okay, this, again, if you haven't been paying attention to our website, no problem. We definitely got you guys hooked up. This is what we know at this time. Now, this is as of 9:52 p.m., just a little bit as we were getting ready to come onto the air in just a little bit. Jerry Lawler's friend Joe Cooper, he had recently spoke with News Channel 3 in Memphis about the condition of Jerry the King Lawler, saying that apparently a few days ago Jerry Lawler was complaining about having chest pains, and he didn't think too much of it. He thought it was indigestion, and he really just paid it no mind. Well, it would turn out that usually one of the signs of having a heart attack is exactly those type of conditions, a slight type of pain in your left arm, loss of breath, dizziness, and that's the beautiful part about this. You could be a young person, you could be in your 20s, you could be in your teens, and you could have these very same symptoms. So exactly how do you know if you have a heart attack, if you're having a heart attack or not? You really don't. It's like Russian roulette. It's better to be safe than sorry. You want to just go on ahead and you want to get yourself to a non-emergency room as quickly as possible and hope for the best. But on a good note, it's really, really lucky that Jerry Lawler just so happened to be in Montreal on that night, and that there was just a ton of hospitals all within the same radius of one another. Because keep in mind, Jerry Lawler, he had just came off of a wrestling tour in Aruba. Can you imagine what would have happened if he would have still been down there, or if he would have been with WWE overseas in India or Australia? Jerry Lawler, he might not be around right now. I mean, let's really be honest here. And we just had a ton of people that had commented on the status of Jerry Lawler, and this is what I had loved about this, was that we just had different types of people. I mean, it really didn't matter what wrestling promotion that these people worked in. They just sat up and they just had really nice things to say about Jerry Lawler. I know WWE Hall of Famer Jim Ross, he had an update on his good friend. He said lots of speculation. My dear friend Jerry Lawler, he's stable and being expertly cared for in Montreal following the heart attack. Stable equals good. I don't know who spreaded this rumor about Jerry Lawler being in critical condition, but Jerry Lawler has been in stable condition like all freaking day, folks. Velvet Sky even said something about Jerry the King Lawler. She said, just did Piper's Pit with Jerry Lawler in Aruba on Friday, and he seemed to be in great health, so I know he will pull through this. William Regal, he said, my best wishes go out to Jerry Lawler and his family. Jim Ross, who apparently was starting to get a ton of replies from people that thought that what happened with Jerry Lawler was fake, he said, for skeptics, Jerry Lawler's heart attack was real, not showbiz. He's in cardiac ICU in Montreal. My friend will kick out. Believe it, I do. He would go on to say, it's possible via my own experiences Jerry Lawler may have had blocked arteries associated with his heart. The matter can be addressed to be determined. So a lot of people just pouring in nothing but support, get well wishes for the Jerry Lawler family. It was definitely scary because I don't know if some of you had seen the YouTube video that's floating around right now. I'm not going to do this guy any justice by mentioning his name. I will say You can find it on YouTube, and you really don't see anything, okay? So that's why I'm even bothering to mention this video, because luckily you don't really see all the graphics. You just pretty much see in a far, far distance Michael Cole at the Raw booth, and you see all these guys in black shirts. They are just circling all around Jerry Lawler. You can't see Jerry for nothing, and you can see somebody waving a piece of paper almost as if they're trying to fan him, trying to give him some cool air, and they eventually put him on a stretcher, and rather than go in between the camera shots that Raw usually has on opposite sides of the ring, they just went on ahead and they just quietly branched off into the audience and eventually made a back circle into the stage ramp area where EMTs were waiting, and they took Jerry Lawler out of the building. And, you know, what was really disturbing for me was reading some of these comments that some of you so-called wrestling fans had to say about Jerry Lawler. And, you know, I got to be very brutally honest with you guys. You know, I was very critical of you guys when it had came to what all had went down with Claire Lynch a couple of weeks back. And just some of the things that you guys have said about Jerry Lawler, I think that some of you, need some help. I think that there are those of you that really have a strong time determining what's real and what's not real. I also strongly believe that there are some of you that just really come off like cold, heartless bastards. And the funny thing is, when it's all said and done, you came from somebody's womb. You have some type of family. There's somebody that loves you. And for you to act the way that you do with Jerry Lawler, you know, this could be your mom. This could be your father. This could be your brother. This could be your sister. This could be your best friend. This could be the love of your life that you have always been waiting for. And this is nothing to be making a ha-ha joke about. Oh, well, you know, it's fake. You know, understand this. Get this through your head right now. WWE is in a PG era now, okay? It would be very tasteless for them to even go into an avenue like that. And not to mention, they would deal with so much backlash, not just from fans. There would be just widespread backlash from a ton of people. It would not even be funny. Okay? So, you know, let's just stop with all this, oh, you know, it's fake, you know, oh, what happened with him? Oh, you know, stop with all that crap. All right? Like I said, this could be somebody that you love. This could be somebody that you care about. I'm like this. If you don't have anything nice to say, something polite to say, then don't go out of your way to leave a comment. Just sit up and move on to the next thing, you know. But, you know, it's just one of those things. And I was telling co-producer Tammy about it earlier today. I said, man, look at some of the things that these people are saying. And then we were actually attacked ourselves. I mean, we had one person on Twitter, one of our followers, she said, how can you post that video? And I said, what are you talking about? She said, how can you post that video of that? That's just very distasteful. It's disgusting. And I told her, I said, you know what? And this was Zed that was actually talking to her, but he told me about the conversation that he had with her. And this is what we try to be about with regards to what we report on the news. And I have always been an advocate of this since day one that I started my company here covering wrestling, since I started building the website covering wrestling, since I started doing the radio show for wrestling, the one thing that I have always tried to have is a notorious reputation on giving you guys the facts, but also presenting it in a way where it is not distasteful, where it's not disrespectful. Now, Zed showed me this video that he had found of Jerry Lawler. You could not see him for nothing. And I said to Zed, I said, okay, it's a little tough to watch, but, you know, for those knuckleheads that are sitting up saying it's fake and making jokes about it, let's fucking put them in their place. It's pretty much midnight now, so forgive me if I start using profanity, but, you know, it's late night now. So, you know, we got some of these knuckleheads that can't determine what's real and what's not real. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's take this video and post it. It is what it is. And, you know, this girl, she actually was there at Raw, and she was talking about how scary it was to see what had happened, as a lot of people weren't really sure what was going on. And I told her, I said, well, you had a ringside seat. Unfortunately, there were those of us that had to watch this on TV, and unfortunately, there's a lot of people that don't really know if this was real or not. So we're just trying to help those out that want to make jokes and all of that this is real. And I told her of a scenario that had occurred a couple of months back, and I think for those of you that have been listening to the show long enough, you definitely will remember this, because we were on the fence about this, but we have to be all about integrity. We didn't run with the story. We didn't run with the image, which was, there was an image of Sabu knocked out in his hotel room after doing a night of who knows what, and I mean, he just looked to be in one sorry bad shape. And there were so many distasteful wrestling websites that were just showing this picture. And when I first came across this picture, I sat up and said, you know what, I'm not going to sit up. I am not going to post this. I don't want to have anything to do with it. And I talked about what happened, but I did not show the pic. I mean, that's just how respectful I try to be to a lot of these wrestlers, because when it's all said and done, there needs to be some part of whatever is happening to them in their personal life or whatever. There just needs to be some part that can remain private, I feel. And unfortunately, to have something like this happen in public and to have people joke and make fun about it, it's one of those type of deals where we even had the smart marks analyzing it and trying to figure out if it was fake. And, you know, if you got Michael Cole sitting up telling you, and I quote, and I'm not saying this to make fun of Michael Cole, I'm actually using a direct quote that he said on the show, this is not part of entertainment. This is real. You know, and Michael Cole, I definitely think that we should give Michael Cole a ton of credit right here, because Michael Cole, you can say whatever you want about Michael Cole, but Michael Cole really stepped it up big time this past Monday night. I just love the way he just handled everything that was happening. I mean, there are so many of us that could probably talk a good game and say, oh, I probably would have been able to do the same thing. I'm not going to lie to you. If I have a colleague that I've been working with side by side for a lot of years, and all of a sudden they just drop, literally, I can just grab them and they just drop, that's going to freak me the hell out. I'm not going to be able to keep a straight face going. You know, I don't know how many of you guys are Daryl Hall fans, but there's this well-respected R&B singer that used to be pretty popular in the 80s during the whole rise of MTV. Daryl Hall, he used to be part of Hall & Oates. He used to sing those songs, Whoa, Here She Comes, Man Eater, Kisses on My List, ton of good songs. If you don't know the name, you would definitely know the songs. You say, oh, yeah, I remember that song. Then you go, oh, those guys, okay. Well, the point that I'm making is it reminds me of what had happened with Daryl Hall's longtime collaborator, T-Bone. And T-Bone, he had did a lot of musical arrangements for Hall & Oates. He was always hands-on whenever Daryl Hall had put out a solo album. And Daryl Hall's last solo album that came out last year, I believe it was, called Laughing Down Crying, as they were producing the album, one night they had just got done doing like 2-3 really good tracks. T-Bone was feeling really good. They had some wine. They had a nice big meal. And T-Bone was like, yeah, man, that's how we do it. That's how we do it. Let's pick it back up tomorrow. And he was staying at Daryl Hall's home. Well, that was pretty much it. T-Bone went. He retired for the night. Daryl Hall went to go wake him up the next day. T-Bone did not wake up. He died of natural causes. And, you know, it's just one of those type of deals, you know, you think you can prepare yourself, but you really can't, you know. When it hits, it hits. And here's a case where Michael Cole, you know, he's working alongside somebody he's been working alongside with for a couple of years now, and to have him just go down the way that he did and to be able to maintain some type of professionalism, keeping us all updated on what's going on, I definitely think that he handled himself very well. CM Punk, John Cena, Bret Hart, they did a decent job themselves handling everything that had went down at the time. Definitely kudos to them. Now, I know we had read that supposedly, according to somebody in the back working in WWE, that Vince McMahon may have fed direct lines to Michael Cole, telling him exactly what to say about Jerry Lawler. You know, here's my answer to that, just to nip that in the bud. I honestly believe that Michael Cole did not need Vince McMahon in his ear, not to talk about somebody that he really does consider to be a friend. Okay? Michael Cole has been in journalism for many, many years prior to arriving in the WWE. The man knows how to report a story. Now, if Vince McMahon really was feeding him lines, honestly, I would not look at that as a bad thing. I would not even frown down on that. I think Vince McMahon did what was necessary, and you know what? Some people, unfortunately, need to kind of have that little bit of push and get you kind of rolling again. And we all can only speculate what was probably happening in Michael Cole's mind. He really might have not been there. And Vince McMahon was probably doing whatever he could to try to help Michael Cole deal with what was happening. And, you know, we have so many people that want to sit up and say, oh, Vince McMahon, he's an evil bastard. He sat up and he made this 62-year-old man work. Vince McMahon, he's so evil. Why didn't he stop Raw? Raw should have came to an end when Jerry Lawler had his heart attack. He's an evil, despicable man. Let me say this. Vince McMahon, and I can't say this enough, he's got a responsibility to shareholders. He's got a responsibility to stockholders. He has a responsibility to advertisers. If he were to sit up and he were to do what you would suggest, which is basically quit the show, it's over, that's it, no more show for tonight, they would have to deal with so many repercussions, it would not even be funny. They would have to deal with so many fans that would be within their right to get a full refund. It would not even be funny. Okay, so yeah, when you really think about it money-wise, Vince McMahon unfortunately cannot do those things. Would it be nice? Yes, but unfortunately, he can't do any of those things, not without facing all of those repercussions. So let's get that out the way first, okay? The second thing, should Vince McMahon had quit the show? If you really have to ask yourself that question, then guess what, my friend? You don't know diddly squat about Vince McMahon or the WWE. For you old school WWE wrestling fans, Owen Hart. You all remember Owen Hart, don't you? Vince McMahon kept right on going, didn't he? Okay? So that tells you the type of person that Vince McMahon is. Some of us, we may not like it. Some of us may not like it because we don't have that type of drive in us to be able to push through adversity, to be able to push through whatever difficulties is happening at that time, especially when everything is up in panic. A lot of us will handle those type of circumstances differently. But here's a guy that has to be a leader first. He's got to lead by example. I mean, honestly, can you picture a Vince McMahon that would be panicking, wondering what the hell is happening to Jerry Lawler? And, you know, he's giving off that fear of concern, scared. You know, you don't really want to radiate that to the rest of your employees. You want to lead by example. If you ask me honestly, man, Shane McMahon could have been there commentating with Michael Cole, and that could have happened with Shane McMahon. I honestly believe Vince McMahon would have kept doing what he was doing. And that doesn't make him a bad person. Now, let's go to Jerry Lawler's side for a little bit. Is he too old? Well, earlier tonight, we had saw the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, talk with CNN Headline News. He was on the program Evening Express, and he had talked about Jerry Lawler's heart attack. And he actually stuck up for Jerry Lawler and said, hey, despite him being 62 years old, he moves very well physically in the ring, and he is definitely more qualified to compete than any other member on the roster due to his experience. And Ric Flair would also point out that Jerry Lawler actually wrestles better than a lot of the guys that they have in the WWE that are in their 30s. And he would further add into the mix that it was really great that medical advances have been growing at the rate that they've been growing within recent years, and that the EMTs were there to take care of him at ringside and backstage, as most likely they probably, in fact, saved Jerry Lawler's life. I definitely attest to that. It definitely would have been a totally different scenario if it would have happened anywhere else where that type of care was not available. So it does bring up a very valid point, which is, okay, well, when is too old to be wrestling? And, this was actually something that me and co-producer Tammy were debating about as I was getting ready to come on the air tonight. And she brought up a very good argument. She said, on the one hand, you have to think about weight. But, I gave her that, but at the same time, what's yelling at me more is knowing when your time is up, really being able to listen to your body and know when it's time for you to start slowing it down, take it easy for a little bit. Let's just get one thing straight right here. I want to just get this image of Jerry Lawler out of a lot of people's heads right now, because I know, unfortunately, there are some people that really don't know anything about Jerry Lawler or haven't even taken the time to do research on him, and they're saying to themselves, oh, that poor 62-year-old man that needs to go out there and he needs to try to make some type of money. Jerry Lawler is financially set. He wrestles because he wants to. He wrestles because he still loves it. He still loves to perform in front of people. Jerry Lawler doesn't need the money, okay? He is a well-respected artist. He has had built several little indie wrestling promotions of his own, though they may have not lasted that long. He still was able to go out and do what he needed to do. Heck, there was one WrestleMania, somebody in the chat room, if you can help jog my memory, I'd appreciate it. There was actually one WrestleMania where him and Vicky Guerrero, they did original artwork for all the WWE superstars that were scattered across the entire arena. Jerry Lawler has written little children's books. So, I mean, the guy is very multi-talented. He does not need the money. It is not about the money. What it is for him is just, like I said, being able to go out there and perform. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. So, that explains that. But there is that side of me that sits up and says, why do we continue to see these people that are past their 50s go out here and they're wrestling when they really should be taking it easy? And if there was ever a time for me to be critical on WWE right now and Vince McMahon, it would be this. And I actually played Jerry Lawler's match back in my head, and I was just thinking about what all had been happening within recent weeks, and I'm saying to myself, okay, Jerry Lawler had nothing to do with the segment between Bret Hart, CM Punk, John Cena. But yet he got involved in a Randy Orton match. Okay? Now that right there does not make sense to me, and the reason why that does not make any sense to me is because it just really came off as if Jerry Lawler just injected himself into that, and I just think from a writing standpoint that was totally not needed. Okay, here we have Randy Orton. He's dealing with, Cody Rhodes, Dolph Ziggler. Oh, I'm sorry, I got my names mixed up. He's dealing with, I got a lot on my mind right now. I'm kind of stressed out here. Somebody help me out in the chat room. Who was Jerry Lawler taking on? It was Jerry Lawler, Randy Orton, and they were taking on, not Cody Rhodes, because Cody Rhodes was actually taking on Rey Mysterio. Cobra User Tammy, look that up for me real quick here. Let me know what you're able to pull up. Give me a second here, folks, because there's a very valid point I'm trying to make right here, and I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here. Let me see if I can pull this up. Here we go. Right here, CM Punk, Dolph Ziggler versus Randy Orton, Jerry Lawler. Okay, so I can understand somewhat them hooking up, but at the same time, there's also that part of me that's sitting up and I'm saying to myself, okay, Jerry Lawler really wasn't needed for that match. If anything, Jerry Lawler should have just been commentating, and Randy Orton should have been teaming up with anybody else. You really didn't need Jerry Lawler. Not really. I mean, some of you will probably say, well, who can you put out there? Honestly, anybody else other than Jerry Lawler, especially if the man had just got done wrestling in Aruba just a couple of days before, he definitely needed a rest. But it's definitely a question that comes into my mind is, when is enough enough? When do you let some of these wrestlers that's been going at it for as long as Jerry Lawler has and say, okay, you know what, we don't really need to be relying on you so heavily. We just want you to just take a chill. We'll try to see what we can do. We'll try to see what we are able to come up with without involving you. And I just want to say this in closing, and then we'll open up the phone lines. Hopefully this is a wake-up call for WWE, and they revisit the way that they are using some of their older talents, and they try to make a conscious decision about what it is that they want to be doing with the older talent. I mean, we already are hearing Vince McMahon's not really too keen on using older talent. He's not really too keen on using WWE legends. I can understand that. I definitely would not be surprised if this latest health scare intimidated him to the point where he now strongly has reconsiderations for using older talent to work with young talent. I'm totally fine with that. But I would hope that this would be a wake-up call that they can sit up and they can try to come up with something for the future so that something like this does not happen again. Because, I mean, honestly, nobody really wants to see that. Nobody wants to see or hear somebody drop. You know, I don't even want to say the D word, but on live TV, nobody wants to see that. You know? That's all I got to say about that. I'm just a little shaken up at, you know. I thought I was going to be really prepared. I took all my time to prepare for you guys. I apologize if I sound a little off tonight, but my mind is definitely on Jerry Lawler. And, you know, can't stress it enough. Jerry Lawler, family, friends, colleagues, you know, you all definitely got our thoughts and prayers with you all at this time. Very eerie, too, that this happened, because we're going to have Justin Reno on the show this Thursday, and he's going to be wrestling the Honky Tonk Man, who is actually the cousin of Jerry Lawler. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure Justin Reno is probably a little bit shaken up of what he's hearing about this. Let's go on ahead. Let's open up the phone lines right now. We got a few minutes left, and then we'll try to end it on a lighter note, let you guys know what we got coming up programming-wise for this weekend. So if you want to go on ahead, you want to share your thoughts, you're more than welcome to do so. You know we love hearing from you guys. Number to call, 646-478-3525. Again, that's 646-478-3525. Kick on back. Feel free to interact with us. Let's go to the Michigan area now where we got Dave on the line. Go ahead, Dave. You're live on the air.
Hey, man. How's it going?
Hey, pretty good, man.
I know when I first started off watching Raw, I was like, because I watched football Monday night. I wanted to check out the doubleheader. So I was like, okay, I'll watch it Tuesday and stuff like that. And so I ended up watching it like that morning. And I was like, man, I was watching it. It was good because, like, Bret Hart, it's like, man, talk about a reaction. I haven't heard a reaction like that in forever.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe WWE should just start going to Montreal. I mean, that was a huge, I mean, the crowd was awesome. Especially for Bret anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, after we get into it, and I'm sure if I was sold on Daniel Bryan and Kane going for the tag titles, but then during that match, I mean, you could see the crowd look. I don't know if you've rewatched the match. Like, I've watched it 5 or 6 times already, that match. Mm-hmm. Simply because you could see little snippets of something happening back there with the Cole and everything, which I think Vince or somebody was feeding Cole something at that point, because it almost seemed like you'd have to have someone feeding him something, because there's no way his mind was even at all in that match. And for at least a good 2 to 3 minutes of that match, it was really dead silence.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I mean, after that, I mean, I was getting choked up watching Cole, and I was like, man, just to hear him, like, say, fight Jerry, I know you can do it, it was just like, wow. I mean, someone we've all grown up watching over the years, Michael Cole, especially Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross. I mean, all the great, and a lot of people, like, with the whole Punk thing, I mean, did he really have to wrestle? I mean, that was one thing that we look back now is like, could they have done something differently, which it seems like they could have.
Yeah.
I don't know, was Raw taped last night or no? It was live.
It was live.
Okay. So I heard someone say something about being taped online or something, I thought. So I was glad that's live, because I would hate to see it be taped and they still air it. I'm glad that.
Yeah, I definitely feel if it was taped, I definitely feel WWE, they definitely wouldn't have wouldn't have aired that. I think they would have just did something else instead. I think they probably would have did a retrospective.
Yeah. Which I wish. I mean, it seems like after that Daniel Bryan match and after they did Cole in that segment, it's just like it was really hard to keep watching Raw.
It really was, because in all my years of watching Raw, you know, and some of us, a lot of us, you know, we have our jokes on Michael Cole, and, you know, we really don't mean any harm when we joke about him. You know, I mean, we all are in agreement. You know, he might not be a Jim Ross, but he definitely knows how to command your attention, you know, and I guess that's that journalistic side to him that he brings to the table. But, you know, for those that would always sit up over the years and say, I wish those guys would just shut up, let us watch our match, you know, well, you finally got your wish, and I must admit, you know, now we know why there is commentating, because without it, it is just scary, it's eerie, it's just dead, and you're actually just left in your own thoughts. You know, it's really hard to focus on the match when you don't hear somebody selling that move. Or take when David Otunga and Sheamus came out, and Michael Cole wasn't even saying anything. You know, it was like, wow, no introductions. It's like, this is scary to watch.
Oh, it was Rey Mysterio, I believe, in Cody Rhodes.
Mhm. Yeah, it was that one too. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know he said we're going to remain silent from commentary for the rest of the night. And basically, just watching Cody Rhodes and Rey Mysterio, I mean, it was just like, you know, house show even. They've been to wrestling house, WWE House Show, so it was just like something like that. And it was just like really weird. It was really hard to watch the match, and then it was just like, I mean, I give it to Punk and Cena. I mean, I've said I wish Michael Cole would shut up plenty of times, but last night, you could actually like really tell this was like he repeated it like I think 3 times. This is not part of the entertainment. This is real. They're giving him CPR right now and all that. And I think I give a lot of credit. I'm not a CM Punk fan or a John Cena fan, but I give them a lot of credit. I mean, that was probably, it's going to go missed too. No one's even going to really remember too much of that either. That was probably one of the best promos on Raw probably since the famous pipe bomb last year. That was probably one of the best. It could be forgotten pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, Bret Hart and CM Punk at the beginning, that was great too. And then at the end with John Cena and them, I mean, that's all going to be forgotten because everyone's going to remember Jerry Lawler. Hopefully everything's okay and there's no brain damage that some people are worried about.
Yeah, I know we definitely, you definitely want to have him in the thoughts and prayers because, he was without oxygen there
for a long time,
Yeah, you know.
And that video, I mean, I think all of us have pretty much seen it because it was all over the Twitter, YouTube, Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was, I'm not saying it was, the person I think putting it out there was more or less probably trying to get hits on his YouTube channel.
You know, honestly, I strongly believe that too. They just wanted to get that.
But I'm glad he did too. I'm glad he put that out there.
I am too. You know,
I wanted to. You couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
But what you could see is you knew what you could see from the TV side when you're watching it. You could see that. I kind of wish the video was a little closer. Not saying like right in there, but just where you could actually see it, because you could see how they barricaded and carried him out, which I thought was kind of cool how they did that. And you knew something was up during that match.
Yeah.
Like, what are these guys looking at? Is someone about to jump in the ring or what?
Yeah.
And then when you get those little clips in the ringside area, you could see, like, I mean, for Kane and all them to continue that match, too, you know, they had to know something was up, and referees had to say something.
Yeah. You know, I definitely appreciate the guy posting that video because, like I said, you know, we had so many people that were sitting up saying, "Oh, is it fake?" You know, making jokes about it. You know, it's like, you know, like I said, WWE they've come along far too long. You know, and they're in that whole PG era now, and they got so many responsibilities to a lot of people. For them to do something like that, It reminds me of what Fritz Von Erich did when he had that wrestling promotion several years back, and he tried to fake a heart attack so that basically he could try to bring some type of new life into the Von Erich Freebirds rivalry. But at that point, Michael Hayes, he had left the promotion, so you really couldn't have the Freebirds without Michael Hayes. And the fans, they were so supportive of the Von Erichs, and they were sitting up when they saw what happened with Fritz. They're like, oh my God, is Fritz having a heart attack right now? Is this another Von Erich tragedy? And then when it turned out Fritz Von Erich had faked it, I mean, the backlash was so severe that it was ridiculous. You know, I can't help but look at a moment like that and just think about the backlash and say to myself, you know, if WWE were to even try to go that route, they would experience some severe backlash. It would not even be funny. Dave, thank you so much for that call. We appreciate you when you call, as always. And thanks for trying to jog my memory there in the chat room, too. Yeah, I agree with you. They should have had Sin Cara or Zack Ryder take the place of Jerry Lawler. There's so many what-ifs now that we'll unfortunately have to say to ourselves. Should WWE have gone a different way, you know, done the right thing, and just let it be all about the younger guys, not be about Jerry Lawler, who isn't even going to have a match at Night of Champions. He served his purpose a couple of weeks back, you know. Brings up a very valid point. You know, there's so many questions, so many what-ifs. Unfortunately, we got to deal with what's happening right now, and that's Jerry Lawler. He's in stable condition. He's breathing on his own. He's been responsive to a series of flight tests. His vital signs are definitely better than what it was reported Monday night. I know coming up this Thursday night, and I just want to share this with you guys, especially if you all are going to be in the Memphis area, it looks like there's going to be a group prayer that's going to be led by Jerry the King Lawler's son. It's going to be held at Raleigh Springs Mall. It's going to be this Thursday at 7 p.m. So if you all happen to be in the Memphis area, you definitely want to go check that out. I'm sure the family, they would definitely appreciate it right there. Hey, sorry for those of you that kind of felt like I was struggling on tonight's show. You know, definitely an emotional episode, you know, talking about all this. We'll definitely be back on track this Thursday night, and we have to be, because we have special guests coming on to the show this Thursday night for Impact Showdown Radio. It's going to be the famous Justin Reno that's going to be stopping by. We're going to talk TNA wrestling. We're going to talk TNA wrestling. We're going to talk the latest in TNA wrestling news. We'll also get you guys ready for the WWE Night of Champions pay-per-view that's going to be coming up. For those of you that are hardcore WWE fans, we'll see you guys this Saturday afternoon for the RCWR Show Call That Match special, covering my match predictions for the Night of Champions pay-per-view. Everybody else, TNA fans, we'll see you this Thursday night for Impact Showdown Radio. Till we hear from you guys this Thursday night, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern, I'm the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders. Y'all be safe. Be kind to one another. Send those prayers and thoughts to Jerry Lawler at Twitter, Jerry Lawler. I'm sure him and his family